My name's Lee. I'm 32 years old. I live in Grantham in Lincolnshire, where I'm an editor of a small lifestyle magazine called life.info. And what do I do for interests? Oh dear, I love going out on my motorbike, and I only stick within speed limits, obviously. And then if I want to go out and relax with my friends, we'll generally go out and have a curry and have a good time. I have a wife called Lydia, who's beautiful, very small. And we live together here in this town, and we don't have any children, but we do have 3 cats called Wobbin, Marmalade and Tiger.
Where they?
Well, I'm a human being, and I want to talk about human nature. You know, what is the deal with human nature? Are we just stuck in a rut, or can we get out of it? Can we get better? Can we improve ourselves? You know, why are some people good and others bad? You know, what is the deal with human nature?
Hi, my name is Gert Tapp. I'm 39, turning this year 40, the magical number, and looking forward to that. I'm married and father of a beautiful daughter, Melody, and I'm working as a Dean of Men. That means I'm working at a college with students from all kind of different places of the world, about 60 different nationalities. So very interesting. I have a lot of different interests. I love music, but I also love a lot of active things. I love to share thoughts and ideas about human nature. There's so much going on when you meet different people, as I do in my job. There's all kind of different backgrounds, different thoughts about different things that happen in our lives, and human nature is something that goes very deep, and it's a mind-boggling thing. And I love to just share some thoughts with different people and see where we go.
We're calling the conversation Mind the Gap because the reality is life is filled with these spaces, not inconsequential spaces that have to do with getting there from here. Mind the gap. Straight out of the English subway system. Is that not true? Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the big gaps. We have to plunge into it. Oh, I wish we could avoid this one. I wish we could say, can we take a pass on this conversation? Guys, we have to have this conversation. I want to introduce it by an American author who lived in London. That's his one claim to fame, Mark Twain. I've seen his house. Mark Twain described people who were good in the worst sense of the word. Ever known people like that? Yeah. Oh, mercy. Such a lovely fellow. Just don't let me live next door to him, please. Good in the worst sense of the word. Mark Twain, who said, hey, what's the big deal about quitting smoking? I have quit 100 times before. It's no big deal. Mark Twain, let me give you one more line, Lee, because you want another American author. Yeah. All right, one more line. Mark Twain spoke about being able to resist everything. Except temptation. Yeah, that's it. Temptation, guys. Did we have to introduce the word S-I-N? Some people call it sin. Yeah. What do we call it? Just basic human nature. We don't like the sin word, so we'll call it basic human nature. If that's the case, we need to take on what's the reality in all of our lives. But Lee, before we plunge into this, please, sir, you are our on-the-street interviewer. What are you hearing
about human nature?
Yeah, about human nature.
Well, we're hearing, what is it? You know, I mean, let's have a definition to work with of what is human nature. So I guess that's something we can rattle around. Yep.
Just a moment.
Where does it come from, our human nature? You know, do we have someone we can thank for it, or someone we can slap for it? You know, where does that come from?
Okay.
How come some people just seem to be born good? They seem to be born good, and some are just bad, you know, through and through. Some people, you could describe them as angels from heaven.
That'd be like you.
Yeah, that's what my mum would say about me. Or, you know, others would say there's bad eggs, and that's what my dad would say.
All right.
Yeah. So some people are just rotten through and through.
All right. What else are you hearing out there, Lee, about human nature? Human nature.
What about this whole thing of the tension between good and bad in all of us? You know, there's this sort of, are we really good or are we really bad? You know, and the sort of.
Let's put that on the radar screen. We'll get to it.
And then, well, this whole thing about choice. Can we choose our behaviour, our human nature, or are we just? It's there from the word go, and it's genetic, or I don't know what, but you know that we can't do anything about it. We are predisposed. That's the thing.
Fair enough. Anything more?
Then maybe one last thing. Then what can I do about it? If that's my life, my human nature, is there anything I can do about it, or am I just doomed to just struggle on with life and the temptations that come my way? what can be done?
Good stuff. Let's see if we
Okay,
can.
that's what we got.
Yeah, let's plunge into it, guys. I want to roll some tape right here at the beginning.
All right.
Because I was in London this morning, down by Westminster. Big day in Parliament, by the way. Huge day in Parliament. So I'm down there. We have our cameras down there, and I'll roll some tape. You'll see. In fact, you see it now. There is this war protester. He's been there, I think, 1,132 days in a row. And you add the 4 days since the last time I talked to him, so it's 1,136 days now. And you know what he's doing? Talking about a pain in the side for, I think, the politicians. He's saying, anti-war, 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 anti-war. You stuff shirts inside of you, shame on you, and he calls out the names. I mean, you read his posters. So, is that human nature? We all have this beautiful exterior, but a bunch of stuffed shirts.
Yeah, and this is it.
Yeah,
the problem. The facade that we have, you know, I mean, everybody's carrying around. It's this whole idea of masks.
Yeah.
You know, you can walk around and people can perceive you. You know, you might think that I'm, you know, a really nice person, but actually I'm a gangland criminal. No, I have to tell you.
It's all about perception, isn't it? I mean, you want
I'll
to
see it. Perception,
see,
perception.
Yes, perception. You want people to see you in a certain light for fear of them finding out who you, as you say, who you truly are. And all of us, we do. We have this sort of facade, and at some point or another, when we let the guard down.
So who gets the rap for this? If I might use that terminology. Who gets the blame for why we're what we are?
Well,
have you ever heard of no, you have, a comedian named Flip Wilson? You never heard of him?
No.
Flip Wilson, no. He used to, his gag line was, the devil made me do it. The devil made me do it. Everything was blamed on the devil made me do it. But can we really put the rap, Lonnie, on just some sort of external force?
Well, people always say that, you know, you've got to be responsible for your own actions, haven't you? And in our society, we hold people accountable for their own actions. That's why we send them to prison if they do something wrong, you know? You know, if you've done something wrong, then, you know, then you're... You know, you steal my cookie, you have to give me it back.
Yeah.
Or you get a slap for it, you know.
You get fined and points on your life. Oh, sorry, no.
you're well versed in this, Lee.
No.
So this exterior that is very presentable to the public that is looking on can mask a reality that is very much antithetical or opposed to what's on the external.
And I think that's for everyone.
Yeah. Regardless.
To a lesser or greater degree, what you're hiding, if you like, the things that you keep to yourself. Everybody's got stuff going on inside them, whether it's stresses at work or stresses at home or whatever it is, you know, or worries about this or guilt because of that, or, you know, everybody's got that going on. We all have.
But doesn't it make you wonder, are some people born worse? I mean, they're just some rotten apples that you say, oh. And then others are the paragon of virtue. You look at them, whoo.
But then if you followed that through, then you'd have, let's say you had, you know, a criminal community, and you'd say that there's nobody who could come out of that who would be good, you know.
Well, there are such things, aren't there? Criminal communities. You know, you've got the mafia and that kind of stuff, haven't you?
Yeah,
you've got all this big family of baddies.
But then there are good
So
people.
a goodie could come out of a family of baddies, is what you're saying?
Sure, absolutely.
And vice versa. You
Because
could have,
the women aren't bad. It's just the men.
I gotcha. Yeah, right.
Yeah, Jewish.
Charles Manson, ever heard of him? Charles Manson. Yeah, the Sharon Tate murders. Helter Skelter. Wasn't that the book? Truman Capote's book, Helter Skelter. Charles Manson. Here's an interesting story. You've never heard this. I'm going to tell it to you now. At the age of 3, his mother, by the way, is a prostitute. Okay? So the boy is born to a prostitute. At the age of 3, he remembers hearing her turn to a barmaid and say to her, listen, how much would you give me for this kid? And the barmaid said, I'll give you a pitcher of beer. And they exchanged the pitcher of beer, and Charles Manson went to the barmaid for the rest of his childhood. Now, that was a grisly. That's no excuse for the grisly Sharon Tate murders, the bloody murders. But...
What a start.
Yeah. You know, you and I have to be careful. I mean, this Jesus of Nazareth, when he was here, one line, judge not that you be not judged. Be careful about pointing the finger.
You do that all the time.
We do.
Unconsciously. First impressions, you'll look at someone
the
and,
guy's just...
you know, there could be the wrong colour of skin, they could have the wrong type of hair, they could wear the wrong sort of clothes.
Stereotypes.
Yeah, and we're labelled. We label people all the time.
We do it well.
And I saw this thing on the telly. It was some sort of school reunion, and they were trying to pick up where they left off, I don't know, 10, 15 years previous. And there's this one girl who nobody could quite remember. It's like, well, you were there. It's like, were you in the picture, surely? And it turned out she was like the dorky one, you know. She had thick, you know, glasses and, you know.
Coke bottle,
she was quiet, and nobody quite remembered her. But then she'd had some other experiences in her life. She'd gone to university. She'd got a good job, and now she was, you know, quite glamorous, and she had a bit of money, so she had some nice clothes and stuff. And people were like, "Who were you?" And then she totally transformed.
Caterpillar to a butterfly.
Yeah, that's right. But nobody remembered her. It was really weird. Nobody actually had any memories of her because she wasn't one of the shining lights when they were at school. And yet some of the guys who are really outgoing and who really, you know, everybody remembered, you know, they'd sort of just fizzled out, you know, and gone down a sort of lesser path, if you like.
Now, well, let me ask you then, do we have any choice over who we are? Choice over our behavior? Let me ask you that one first. Do we have choice over our behavior?
Yeah.
That's kind of a no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's a no-brainer. Of course, I can have some choice over my behavior. But my basic human nature, how much choice do I have?
A lot of times you find that your basic human nature might compromise the choices that you would make. You know, oftentimes I find myself in a situation I know to be bad. I've been here before. Why am I here now? And I can't answer that question sometimes. You know, myself is telling me, my brain is telling me, you shouldn't be here. But my hands and my body are doing the things that I know to be wrong.
And our Western society has a neat little out for that. I don't know if it's the emphasis is as heavy over here as it is where I come from. Yeah, I can't help it because it's part of my parents. It's my genetic lineage. It's not my fault.
We say at home, we have this thing, and I say to them, don't say to me that you can't help it.
Yeah. You go, Mom. You go, girl.
You sound like my mom.
I am a mum, that's why. But this is the thing, you see, my kids say it to me, oh, I can't help it, Mum.
Yeah.
You know, I can't.
Yeah.
Why can't you help it?
But you know what?
I've given you everything.
I would like to suggest, Althea, that those kids may be right. I want to put something out on this imaginary table that we keep in the middle of our conversation. In fact, Lonnie, you've got the Old Testament from that ancient book called the Scriptures. Would you please read for us Jeremiah 17, one line, verse 9.
The heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it?
Mother, we just found the perfect app for your kids.
Well,
they are born that way.
You know, I didn't give birth to them like that. Thank you very much.
Well, they heavily favor their father anyway.
They're just like him.
I wish I'd had that text when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You could have thrown
But Lonnie, what do you hear being said there?
Well, you know, it's saying, you know, the heart is deceitful above all. You know, we're born with a natural, you know, instinct to be bad almost. I mean,
we're bent towards bad.
You watch little kids,
but is that an excuse?
Fighting over toys.
Is that an excuse?
Yeah, but watch it. I'm going to finish this point. Watch the little kids.
Kids automatically snatch. They're automatically selfish. They're automatically me.
Mine, yeah.
Exactly. And, you know, you try and teach them to share, and someone takes their toys and they cry. And we don't teach them that. We try to teach them to be other-centered and to share and to play with other children. But they don't. Their automatic instinct is me, give.
And Lani, we teach it to the children. And what do we do ourselves? What kind of problem do we have? We go to a party and there's this huge plate with beautiful big piece of cake, and there are a few smaller ones. And you count very quickly, like, how many people are here? Like, I better take this big one because it's going to be gone. I mean, that's the first instinct that you have. It's the first instinct, like, I want to have the bigger piece.
And maybe it's not the cake. Maybe it's the job opening in the corporate ladder.
There's so many things in life.
But then
Good point, Gert.
Society kind of teaches that if you want to move up that ladder, whether it's corporately or socially or whatever it is, you've got to be prepared to step on some people's heads on the way up. And well, so be it.
I mean, I've worked in many organisations, big corporates, and, you know, the ethos is, you know, if you're ambitious and you want to get somewhere, you've got to do what it takes. And I remember
if you and I were colleagues, would you, and we were competing for the same job, how likely would it be that you would sit down and say, Craig, this is your job. You can have the pay raise. You can have the prestige. I'm just going to sit back.
Unlikely.
You wouldn't. I wouldn't do it.
Unlikely.
And guys, let's not remember the judge not a line. Let's not finger the corporates. Because the fact of the matter is that not all of us?
Yeah.
From childhood, from babyhood,
that's how it works.
From the cradle to the crypt.
Yeah, we're kind of conditioned like that. We will automatically make that response.
I want you to pull out the New Testament this time. Let's take a look. This is a rather poetic passage and extended. Romans chapter 3, verses 10 through 18. Put that on the table. Let's listen to these words.
There is no one righteous, not even one. There is no one who understands, no one who seeks God. All have turned away. They have together become worthless. There is no one who does good. Not even one.
This is pretty pessimistic.
Not even one.
Hang on. Their throats are open graves. Their tongues practice deceit. The poison of vipers is on their lips. Their mouths are full of cursing and bitterness. Their feet are swift to shed blood. Ruin and misery mark their way, and the way of peace they do not know. There is no fear of God before their eyes.
Whoa, guys! I mean, suddenly now this great energy and optimism we had has been that the balloon just went.
You know,
to me.
This passage here, you know, it said that there is no one who does good, not even one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not right, is it?
What we see in the world
what
played out,
about
is it?
you know, there are good people. There are people like Mother Teresa. You can't, you know, say to her, you know, she's done nothing good.
No.
There are people like us every day who do good things.
Exactly. I mean, I've never killed anyone in my life.
And in fact, the book is written by one who is reputed to be probably the greatest Christian who ever lived, Paul, St. Paul. And he certainly knew that he did good acts. I mean, we have stories of Paul, historical narratives in the New Testament of him healing. By the way, we've got a conversation coming up on healing. That is going to be one discussion that we get into. But Paul, that would be an act of good. I mean, Mother Teresa, that's healing in a sense. So he can't be saying it's impossible for anybody to do anything that's good, can he? So what's he mean then when he says that nobody's good? What's he dealing with? What's our subject here?
Human nature.
Human nature.
Yeah.
The underlying nature. There's something, there's a bent. I think you said it a moment ago, Craig. There's this little bent, and the bent is always towards me. I'm always looking out for me first. And you know what? Sometimes I do what I think is a really good act. I even get my elbow out of joint, patting myself on the back. It was so good. But the problem is the motivation for doing it. The motivation for doing it. And in the night watches, I'll wake up and I'll think, you creep.
I'll tell you what
you did something admirable, but you did it for people to know that you did something admirable. And so I'm guilty. I'm guilty.
Yeah, I know.
I'll tell you what I did a few weeks ago. I was in a town close to here called Bracknell. There was a homeless man who he was literally rummaging through the garbage. We were with a group of friends, and I said, hey, let's go to the fish and chip shop, buy this guy a meal, all right?
You are
So
a
we
man.
did it, and just like Dwight said, afterwards I was thinking about it. Why it made me feel so good. I was gloating over myself. My friends were saying, that was such a great experience. We should do that more often. And, you know, so where was it? Where was
went
it?
all the reward for that one.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, look. The fact is, in fact, Gert, you got a line. I want to get that line. It's also from the same book, Romans. Same man, that great intrepid earth-wandering writer named Paul. Notice the struggle here. Does it sound familiar?
And this is quite depressing when you sometimes read it, and at the same time it's almost like reading about yourself. I know that nothing good lives in me, that is, in my sinful nature. For I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out. For what I do is not the good I want to do. No, the evil I do not want to do, this I keep on doing. Now if I do what I do not want to do, it is no longer I who do it, but it is sin living in me that does it.
Oh, he fingers...
It's not a power. It's
some kind of force at work within him. Basic human nature, I suppose.
But he wants...
This bent.
Yeah, but he wants to do the good thing.
He wants to do the good thing.
I mean, there is the sort of, how do you say it, the initiative. He wants to go for the right thing, but something else drives him to go the other way.
Yeah. We've been talking about the possibility of a God. Did God create this bent toward ourselves? I mean, how did you get evil in a supposedly good universe? How do you get evil?
Well, from the...
When you put the D to it.
Put the D to it.
Put the D
to it.
Devil. Devil.
Yeah.
That old comedian was right. The devil made me do it. The devil made me do it. And where'd the devil come from? I want to put two more pieces out on this table because we cannot sidestep this. Isaiah, ancient prophet. That would be you, Lee.
That's me.
Isaiah chapter 14. And while Lee's doing that, Craig, let me get you, so we'll just do these bang, bang in a row.
Sure.
Revelation 12, please. Sure. Verse 12. Lee, Isaiah 14, verse 12.
Okay, 12 to 14. All right. How you have fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning.
Now, let me do time out. Hit the pause button. Lucifer. Is that pretty much common knowledge?
Yeah,
everybody knows to whom the name belongs.
The devil.
Okay, the devil. All right.
All right.
So he must have started out somewhere. It says he fell from where?
He's son of the morning, fallen from heaven.
Fallen from heaven, okay.
You have been thrown down to the earth, you who destroyed the nations of the world. For you said to yourself, I will ascend to heaven and set my throne above God's stars. I will preside on the mountain of the gods far away in the north. I will climb to the highest heavens, and I will be like the Most High.
There is a pronoun that repeats itself significantly. What is that pronoun?
I.
First person singular. The one you're born with. The one you were born with, Lonnie, as you pointed out. Me. I. First person singular.
He's like that ambitious executive.
So this bent might have come, we might have gotten it honestly. It came from somewhere, and that somewhere is a being. At least what this is describing, isn't it? Describing a being in the very presence of God who rebels. That's why I want to put the apocalypse now with this.
Yeah, okay, here we go, Revelation 12. Therefore rejoice, you heavens, and all you who dwell in them. But woe to the earth and the sea, because the devil has gone down to you. He is filled with fury, because he knows the time is short.
Okay. So what do we have on the table so far? We have on the table that, in fact, the human race, as proper as we are, as Westminster would be. Old Brian out there, and that's his name, Brian. Brian is a reminder to us, you stuffed shirts, I know what's inside of you. Nobody loves a prophet. Why do we have that guy? But old Brian is a reminder that inside of all of us, there is something that's bent wrong. It's just pointed this way. It's always me. And now we put out on the table from whence came that bent. Came from the original bender. The original me, I. Given all that, guys, given all that, what is the reason I should even try? I'm born with this bent. You've convinced me. I can't change. Why should I even try then?
Well, you've got to keep trying. I mean, it's not... If you start something... I know this is probably just a very simple analogy, and you get it wrong the first time, or you get it wrong halfway down the road. It doesn't mean that you lose sight of your the end product, the goal that you want to achieve. You've got to keep going.
Oh, you must be a friend of Winston Churchill.
I am.
Didn't he? Isn't this the great man? Look,
close to me.
See if I got my history lesson right. Didn't Winston Churchill walk into a group of school lads? They said they invited him to come and speak. This is probably apocryphal. But he walks into a room after he was out of office, and he said, my speech today, never give up. Never give up. And I understand he said it like 3 or 4 or 5 times and walked out. And those boys never forgot that speech. So you're saying just don't quit. Yeah.
Quitters never win.
So I shouldn't quit. No. Even though I'm struggling, maybe I'm struggling with an addiction now that is just very seeping into my DNA. Alcohol. I'm an alcoholic.
We struggle with weight, we women, a lot of the time. Some men.
Not only the women.
Some of us men.
We're constantly on diets.
Yeah.
Keep trying. The biscuit comes out, or the cake comes out, and you get fed up, you get despondent, and so
medicated.
But then after a while, sometimes the training shoes come out and the training shorts, and you get yourself back out there, and I think that's what it's about. You know, just because we know we can't be perfect does not mean that we cannot better ourselves.
Yeah, personal growth.
So, this conversation has to turn practical, and it needs to turn practical very fast, because you've exposed me to my problem. And by the way, people are watching right now and are saying, hey, you haven't touched my problem yet. We don't have to. You know what? I haven't even touched the problems of all of us in this circle. We are all in this struggle business together.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's embarrassing enough that we are not even going to bring up our weakest failures. Promise you. There are only 10 minutes left in this little conversation. Trust me, the weakest failures of this group will not be brought up. Why? Because I don't want you to know that I am really struggling in an area of my life. I'm afraid you will think less of me if you know the truth. So we're all, oh, Brian, thank you, Brian, in front of Westminster. Yep, stuffed shirts, all of us. We all have a problem. But we know that. Let's get on with the solution. So I just grit my teeth. I can do it. I can do it. Never give up. Oh, bulldog prime minister, never give up, never give up, never give up.
You would just...
How many alcoholics have run through that little repeat video statement till they're blue in the face?
Well, but then again, alcoholics that really sort of feel like, hey, I don't want to live this life, because you were saying all of us have certain struggles. We're not going to open up here, but we know from our struggles that it doesn't make us a lot happier. It does not always give us the things that we really thought it would come out of it, whatever that addiction is, whatever that struggle is. But alcoholics, I mean, I have an uncle. Well, he's not here anymore. He passed away, but he was really hooked on alcohol.
Was he?
And the thing was, to try to get out of that, he needed help from outside. So he couldn't do it himself. He wanted, but he also knew that constantly, if he would do it on his own, that's why there are those AA groups. That's where you meet with one another.
12-step.
Yeah, and you say to one another, that's the first thing, isn't it? You say like, hey guys, I know I've got a problem. I'm an alcoholic, and this is my name. So actually they start to really say what the problem is.
I have some friends who have wrestled with sexual addiction, okay? Same. Addiction is an addiction is an addiction, guys. Isn't that right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. An addiction is an addiction. You can be addicted to yourself. That's the ultimate me. It's called pride and vanity. Absolutely. So an addiction is an addiction. Interestingly enough, though, Gert, in the AA program, and I'm not here pushing some sort of alcoholic rehab strategy, but in the AA program, they speak of a higher power. That's it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I want to put that on the table right now. In fact, there's a text here. Who did I assign that to? Althea. That's Jude. Next to the last book in that old scriptures. Okay. Jude, just a couple verses, 24 and 25.
Okay. To him who is able to keep you from falling and to present you before his glorious presence without fault and with great joy, to the only God, our Saviour, be glory, majesty, power, and authority through Jesus Christ our Lord, before all ages, now and evermore.
Now that is one incredible claim.
Wow.
I want you to read that first line again, Althea. Now to him
who is able to keep you from falling.
Hold it right there. Isn't that something? That one line. If this Jesus of Nazareth is who he says he is, if he really died and was buried and rose again, went to heaven, and we've had a conversation, is planning to come back, that line is saying this God is able to keep you from falling.
I know I keep harping on about this, the kid stuff.
Yeah.
But it's so true. It just reminds me every time of what it's like when my children were learning to walk. They couldn't do it by themselves, but they had all that faith, to use the word faith, and trust in me. If I held them by the hand, they weren't going to fall. And they took my hand and they walked.
But let me ask you something. Did your children, when your babies, and I have two babies that are now 18 and 25, when your babies were learning how to walk, did they fall?
Of course they fell.
Did they then say, okay, I refuse this walking thing? Obviously, it's not my gift in life. I will crawl.
But incidentally, they only fell when they were trying it on their own. They didn't fall when I was holding their hand.
Now to him who is able, if you're holding his hand, to keep you from falling. I like that.
I remember on my 5th birthday, I got my first bike, and all the other kids who were learning to ride a bike, you know, their parents all got them stabilizers, you know, these security wheels. At the back of
we call them training wheels.
Yeah, stabilizers we call them over here. But my dad wouldn't get me stabilizers.
He would.
Yeah, you know, and so I thought, you know, if I'm going to ride this bike, I'm going to fall and die. You know, and also he'd got me one that was slightly too big for me, so I'd grow into it. So I could barely reach the pedals, and I'd have to stand on the curb to even get on it, you know. And I'd sit there on this bike, and Dad would hold the back of the seat, and he'd kind of hold it, and we'd kind of go up and down the street, and he'd kind of be jogging behind it, trying to keep up as I gradually got faster and faster, you know. And I never fell off the bike, not once, because Dad was holding onto the seat. And then I remember one time being halfway up the street and going, oh, I'm doing quite well, and then realizing that he wasn't there anymore. I didn't. I kept going, you know, because he'd given me the confidence that I could ride, and you know, and after that, you know, no problem. And I still like riding my bike to this day, you know, but. These kids that learnt with stabilizers, and then they took their stabilizers off, you know, and they were reliant on them to such an extent, you know, and then they'd fall over anyway.
Now to him, how does that line go that we put out on the table? Now to him who is able to keep you from falling.
Yeah.
Come on, guys, we only have a few moments left. Lee, we got to make this practical. Give me another line from this ancient book that might inform how to do this. And while you're doing that, Craig, you also find, Lee, you go to the Psalms, the great literature in the Psalm. That would be Psalm 50, verse 15. Craig, go to Proverbs 18, verse 10, okay?
Okay. Psalm 50, verse 15, it's real short. Trust me in your times of trouble, and I will rescue you.
Trust me in your times of trouble.
And I will,
I'll rescue
might.
you. Yeah.
It says I will rescue you. This is pretty reassuring.
This God, somebody we can call on when we're in hot water?
Definitely.
Yeah. Trust me in your time of trouble. I want to let's add one more here and then think about something here. Greg.
The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run to it and are safe.
That's kind of solid, isn't it?
Strong tower.
A strong tower, and just fleeing towards it, you know, running to it.
I'm in a land of strong towers, man.
I love it when they're saying, like, I'm running towards it. I mean, last year during the summer I was running.
Yeah?
But I was running from one of the buildings here on the campus towards my house because it was on fire. And I tell you, you're running and you start talking to someone, to a higher power. Like, because this is out of my reach, and you see the smoke coming from your house in the distance. And I tell you, you're coming in and you see some guys then already trying to get the fire out, and then the fire brigade comes in. But afterwards you say, like, man, there is a higher power to look after you.
But Gert, I mean, what a metaphor of life. In an instant, our personal lives can go up in flames. I mean, you think you're riding high and easy, and boom, something within you and everything that you had tried to repress comes out. You say a word. I think of all the times my wife, you know, she's just she's my queen. But there, and I'm thinking to myself, Dwight, don't go there. Don't say a word, and boom, that thing comes out. What I don't want to do, and there goes the fire in the tongue, just napalm, man. Set it ablaze. I did it. But the strong tower concept, Lee, because this is your homeland.
It is.
This is a land of castles. Karen and I went up to, just did a castle tour once in this country. Beautiful castles. What is there about a castle that's reassuring?
They're still standing.
Yay!
I mean, you've got a structure that has been built in the 16th century or something, and it is still there. You know,
rock upon rock.
Yeah, that's right. And also, they're generally then a vantage point that gives you this safety. So you know, you can look all around. Once you're inside, you know, you've got those little sliddy windows, and you can see outside, but people can't see you on the inside. This is the whole thing that we were saying about masks and stuff. You know, people can't see what's in the inside. Once you're in there, that is you're safe, and that's quite a thing to that feeling of safety. We want that, don't we?
Oh,
You want to feel safe.
Yes.
You need it,
And so the line, call upon me, trust in me, and I'll deliver you. And you run to my tower, run to my fortress, run to my castle. We ought to sing a song. There is a flag flying high. No, you don't want that one. Okay. Where'd that song come from? Was that your idea, Althea?
Rewind.
Yeah.
I think it might not have
But
been.
the castle concept. You know what? If when I get in trouble, I would remember that there is a castle very nearby, Gert. I don't have to run halfway across the block, the city. There's a castle nearby, and if I run to it, I am safe. Now, who's the ruler? Who's the king in that castle? Lonnie, let's put one more piece out here before we go to my rap. Colossians chapter 2, verse 15.
And having disarmed the powers and authorities, he made a public spectacle of them, triumphing over them by the cross.
Okay, cross. Who's at the cross then? Who are we talking about here?
Jesus.
We're talking Jesus of Nazareth.
Over these powers and authorities that mess with our lives, basically.
All of this outside and internal resistance that we run into. And Lonnie, what did you just read? What did he do with those powers?
Triumphed.
2,000 years ago at a place called Golgotha outside a city called Jerusalem. He triumphed. So, I can't explain to you guys. I don't know how it works, but something happened. And he gained the edge. This fallen being, what was his name again? Lucifer. This fallen being, evil with a D, somehow got conquered at a place called Calvary or the cross or Golgotha. Now unto him, now to him who is able to, how did it go again? Keep you from falling. Yeah. I want to talk to you for a moment who are watching on the screen right now. I mean, that's an incredible offer. He is able to keep you from falling. And by the way, you need to know, we have a little saying in my country, when you point a finger at me, don't forget 3 are pointed back at you. Right. So I'm talking to myself now. Now to him who is able to keep you. Wait a minute, not you, me as well. Now to him who is able to keep us from falling. I want to put one more line, and I love this line, when I think of ancient warfare here in England in particular, and I'm thinking of catapult. Didn't they used to use a catapult around here? And of course the bows and the arrows. Let me just put one more line for your contemplation here. New Testament, 2 Corinthians 10, verse 4, the weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. Because there are 2 strongholds at work here. There's one stronghold that I want to run to. This one that you guys read about a moment ago. I want to get to that one. Hide me in that castle, please. I want to go to that stronghold. There's another kingdom, another power and a dark, sinister force that also has his strongholds. What I just read here is the weapons you and I can hold are not weapons. Little bows and arrows with a little suction cup. Twing! They have power, these weapons, to demolish, isn't that right? To demolish strongholds. I don't know what you're struggling with right now. I'm not going to tell you what I'm struggling with. Some of you watching are wrestling with a sexual addiction that is not letting you go. You have fought it all your life. And you are saying, Dwight, please, is there really power that could release me? Some of you are struggling with an addiction to drugs, recreational drugs, alcohol, doesn't matter. But it's holding. It's like an iron ball and chain on your ankle. Some of us are struggling not with the tangible externals, but with the internal habits, the bent that is so crooked we are always turned inward. The point is, we're all struggling. We're all the stuffed shirts that Brian was talking about, and we need deliverance. We need power to come from outside of ourselves. My friend, that power is the power of a name, and that name belongs to a person. A person who said, I've been there, done that. By the way, met the Lucifer you just read about. I met him face to face. And anybody who reads the gospel story knows the story of Christ's temptations. I met that power face to face. I beat him on his own ground. I have the power. I can keep you from falling. My friend, big gap, but a huge bridge to the castle. Contemplate this. You can cross the bridge of Christ, and you can be in the fortress. Live safe, live free the rest of your life. It's yours for the asking. in the invitation of Jesus.